Hi, how are you? You have an ID? Mrs. Adelson? Nice to meet you. Yeah. You're under arrest. Your cell phone? No, I don't want to give it to you. Why do I have to?
Because my attorney said not to.
Why do I have to give it to you? This is evidence. Evidence. Ma'am, do me a favor. She's under arrest. I have to go with. I have to go. I have to go. You don't have to go with. Let me help you out. No, I have to stay. Please don't do this. Don't stay. You need to grab the bags. Take the bags. Yeah, and you need to wait outside. Okay.
My husband's almost 80 years old. He can't
Yeah,
come with
I can't.
me.
Please, can I go? No, you can't join me there. Oh, don't do this, please.
Please.
Oh,
Someone's got
God.
to help him get home. This is terrible. You can't do this. This is insane.
Is that okay with you?
Please, you don't have to have the handcuffs on. She's not going anywhere. Please, please. Do you have anything in your pocket?
No, no.
Do you have anything of value in you?
No,
Does she have a necklace on? You
Wanna
can
go?
take the necklace off.
Yeah, take it off. Yeah.
And the earrings.
And the earrings. The
You are listening to the Roberta Glass True Crime Report, putting the true back in true crime. From New York City, Roberta Glass is now on the record. Okay. How is everybody? Wanted to talk to you guys today about the Adelson friend. I think we've talked about him before. But thanks to Deep Dive True Crime just keeps coming out with these discovery dishes. So thank you to Deep Dive True Crime. I put his video in the episode description. Keeps coming out with these dishes on this discovery. We're going to talk about Scott Radius, who really, the way it was first described to us is that he hadn't heard from them in a while and that they were asking about Vietnam, right? But it's a much more kind of nuanced, interesting conversation with these text messages, and big surprise with the Adelsons. It's about money, really about money, getting Charlie's investment back. Now, it's not legal for Americans to own money. It seems like to own property, own property in Vietnam. And it seems like Scott Radius's was married to a Vietnamese woman, and that's how they were buying property through him in Vietnam. So it was owned officially by Michelle, who I assume is either his wife or his girlfriend. We'll get into it all. But first, before we do that, we'll get into a few of your comments. One momente.
We got your comments. We got your comments. You had something to say. You were insightful. Oh, so clever. So Roberta's going to read your comments. Hey, Roberta, read those comments.
Okay. Ilya Or is it, how is that? I'm trying to, Iliand Winnett, maybe? I don't know. You guys, thank you. Says, gotta be proud of Robert Adelson. So we were talking about Robert Adelson's testimony being asked by Donna's defense to be barred from the courtroom last time we were talking here live. So gotta be proud of Dr. Robert Adelson for choosing love and happiness over mommy's evil acts. I'm so happy for him that he's married to the love of his life and has a great career and a nice family. Yeah, if you read his reviews as a doctor, ear, nose, and throat doctor in upstate New York, you know how hard it is to get those reviews. There's usually at least a handful of nutty people who you've upset, hypochondriacs, etc. But they're all glowing reviews. This doctor sat with me, checked up on me, etc., etc. And not too many people have to go through that, really go get married and get their marriage annulled before they wake up to reality, you know? I think that's an essential part of growing up, is to detach in some way from your family or your parents, at least in a way that you can see them as a real whole human being with faults, and not these kind of bigger than life superheroes or villains, either way. And as you get older, I think it's an essential part of becoming an adult. And this family was so enmeshed that I don't think that Charlie, and I don't know about Wendy. I don't know where she's at. I don't get unenmeshed from this family. So, wow, these are some challenging YouTube names today. L.A. Prophet Spaniels. I don't know. I don't know. L.A. Prophet Espinoz. I don't know. Thank you for reading Abigail's letter. It was moving. That's Abigail Schreier's victim impact letter. It's a personal favorite of mine. So many of you had comments about it. Sylvia Burrell says, is this Abigail Schreier, the writer and advocate for protecting children? Yes, it is. Wow. Yeah. So if you don't know, Dan Markel's friend Abigail Schreier has made a name for herself writing books that have really had massive impact in our culture. She first wrote Irreversible Damage, The Transgender Craze Seducing Our Daughters, and then wrote Bad Therapy, Why the Kids Aren't Growing Up. So I've read Irreversible Damage, but I haven't read the new one, but I hear it's great. So, oh wait, could you see that? Hold on. Let me show you one more time. Sorry without the comment in the way. So here's the page again. So Bad Therapy, Why the Kids Aren't Growing Up, Irreversible Damage. Those are her books. And you can find her on YouTube. She's given a ton of interviews. Joe Rogan, big shows. She's made a big name for herself, and rightfully so. So, next comment, final comment. Carol Lucy said the state would be stupid to offer her a deal. Sometimes justice just needs to be seen. People feel better about things being trashed out in court. Prime example is the Watts case. People can't close that door because there was no trial. Yeah, I wonder if that's what it is. But so many times when there is a trial, just wait 10 years and people have totally rewritten it. So I don't know. Definitely immediately, there's a definite weird phenomenon, Carol, on YouTube of people defending Chris Watts and saying that Shanann was, all sorts of crazy theories about Shanann, whole channels devoted to it. I don't really understand it. And it seems to be women doing it. I don't know. I someday I probably will talk about that. I hope to talk about that. I'm only one person in a live stream sometime, but let's get into the correspondence between Scott Radius and Harvey Adelson. Boy, is this a showdown of wills. 2 wills here. Let's get into it. So these are WhatsApp text messages between, this is Scott Radius here. If you've never seen him, he runs nightclubs and I guess is some kind of real estate mogul in Singapore. And he was communicating with
Count 1. We, the jury,
Harvey Adelson. And so these text messages start, coincidentally, the day after Charlie's convicted.
as follows as to count 1 of the indictment, first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder. Count 2. We, the jury, find as follows as to count 2 of the indictment, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. The defendant is guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder.
So that reaction never gets old for me. It's like, oh, well, there's like that kind of smirk he does. I don't know if it's a smirk. It's like a kind of stretching of the mouth at the end after he puts his head down on the table and comes back up. It's like, oh, I tried my best. Oh, I thought oh no, I thought I was going to get away with it. That's how I see it. Let me know what you think. So Harvey Adelson writes on Tuesday, November 7th, what about recommendations in Vietnam? So he hadn't heard from them in a long time. And then Harvey writes again, what city would be best for us? And Trower, thanks so much for the super sticker. I appreciate it. So can you imagine getting these messages when you haven't heard from Harvey? Haven't heard from this guy, your friend who's on trial? So Scott Radius writes back, would recommend flying in either, meaning either cities, then taking a domestic into a more peaceful location. The resort that our villa is in has other that are available for rent. Ours is just not ready yet. That could be an option. So it sounds like maybe they're also talking. And you can hear Harvey's paranoia in this. Like he doesn't want to say, like he'll say, we're going on to the next city. Like we're somewhere in Vietnam. Feds, come and find us. So crazy. So then Harvey writes, so I go to Saigon and then to which airport? And will you be able to help us find another unit? Is that available? And do you mean into Saigon? So I fly into Saigon. I kept their text messages. If there were missing words and stuff, I kept it like that. But if there were, I put in some punctuation just because it seemed like at times neither of them wanted to use periods, and it was all just one long run-on sentence. So Scott Radius writes back, yes, Michelle, so that's his lady love, says she can look into it for you, just needs date and information. Harvey writes back, we are working on that now. Thank you. Scott Radius, okay, I'll wait for your response. So sorry as well. I feel horrible. So he's talking about Charlie Adelson's conviction. And Harvey writes back, who flies into Saigon from the States? Scott Radius writes, Qatar Airlines is a good choice from Miami. Dr. Adelson writes, Hotel Nico, Saigon. And Scott Radius writes, we've had a lot of friends stay at the Landmark. Wow. Not a great job I did with the pacing here. Sorry about that, guys. We had a lot of friends stay at the Landmark 81. It's very nice. Don't forget to apply for your visa online before securing tickets. Michelle has some friends that are travel agents if you need more assistance. She said she can connect you too. Harvey says, thank you. Donna and I are talking to Charlie now. Scott Radius, let him know we are thinking of him and to call when he feels up to it. Dr. Harvey says, I will tell him. Heart, thumbs up emoji. Heart emoji, thumbs up emoji. Dr. Adelson then writes, Donna and I will arrive in Saigon on Wednesday at 7:30 on November 15th, and will stay in the city until the 20th. We have made plans for the next city. Most important for us is to be able to stay in contact with Charlie. I need your advice about extend Xfinity plans or do something else. We are leaving Miami Monday night. And Scott Radius has no idea what extend Xfinity plans are, as you'll see. So this is one day before Donna's arrest. So there's a missed call from Harvey. He doesn't want to put anything in writing, obviously. Scott Radius says, hey, sorry at work, very loud. It's a holiday weekend here. I was going to ask, what is Infinity? Is that your phone plan? We never do get the answer to that. Scott, you must not mention to Charlie anything about our plans. Please call ASAP, just 2-minute call. And all I could think of was, do you guys remember how awkward it was as a child with your friends' parents? Like sometimes if they had to drive you home, not all of them, but I would think Harvey Adelson wouldn't be one that you would feel real chummy with. Just how a little bit awkward it was. And so he's Dr. Adelson and he's Scott, right? There's already this power dynamic going on between them. And you'll see it starts to get really intense between the two of them, this power dynamic. Where Harvey Adelson is trying to use this power dynamic to get his own way. And Scott Radius is like, eventually is respectful at first, but it's eventually like, I don't care who you are. I'm not going to be pushed around. Scott Radius, 1 minute. Let me go to the back. And then Harvey writes, thank you, TY. Oh, these texts were so long that I couldn't even fit them in the thing anymore. So he says, Scott, I know you are aware that Charlie was found guilty by a jury that made up their minds long before the trial started. Charlie's only chance of a new trial is through the appellate courts. Donna, as you know, was arrested. I would like to speak with you when you have some time. Again, Charlie always considered you a real friend and tried to make your stay in his house a memorable experience. So it's like, remember what Charlie did for you? It's like the Donna guilt thing. What? He's 80 years old. You're not going to escort my husband. You don't have a limousine to take my husband home after I just got arrested. This is horrible. This is horrible. Right? Ridiculous. The guilt. So Dr. Adelson writes, I hope you are okay and looking forward to talking. Harvey. So no longer Dr. Adelson, now he's Harvey. And he's trying to chum up here because he wants this money. First, I think that they were looking to stay in maybe Charlie's place. I don't know. Possibly. But now he needs the money from Charlie's place in Vietnam. His investment, where there's no paperwork, no paper trail that Charlie ever was an investor in it because it's illegal. And it gets crazy, guys. Scott, is this a good time to talk? Harvey, so putting on the pressure. This is in December 20th, 2003, if you want to know where we are here. In the whole scheme, this spans over, months, this communication. Scott Radius writes back, hey, Dr. Adelson, yes, I agree. Charlie has always been a great friend, and I will continue to be there for him when he calls. I understand you have a lot going on with your family. A lot going on with your family. Like your son just got convicted of murder right now, and your wife just got arrested. Yeah, that's a lot going on. A lot going on. That's a euphemism if there ever was one. And I just need to excuse myself and not be involved. Like, hey, like, I'm not so sure I want to be involved now that he's a convicted murderer. And now that your wife's got into it, I don't know who's listening to these. He's also very paranoid, Scott Radius, of like what's being written down, what's being sent. And at one point he complains about how everything is getting up on social media. I guess the jailhouse calls he's talking about. And he doesn't want to send anything, like any text message to Harvey, as if it's going to go from his phone to Harvey and it's going to end up on social media. But I guess he's wondering if maybe Harvey's going to be arrested yet. Is this going to be taken in as evidence? Also, so he called this in. So he's one. Okay, just to go back, I really didn't make this clear. I buried the lead here. So just to clear it up, Scott Radius is the one who blew the whistle on Donna and Harvey leaving the country. Found it very weird that they were contacting him. He hadn't talked to them in ages, and talking to him about places to stay in Vietnam and not to tell Charlie. And he called the feds, and I can't remember if he called the DA's office or the feds or the police, but he blew the whistle. Do you guys remember exactly who he called? Was it the DA's office or was it the feds? Let me know if you know. But he's the one who called that. So so this adds double awkwardness. He's the one who turned in Donna, essentially, and stopped her from having a beautiful escape. Now Harvey knows this. He must want this guy dead, Harvey, I would imagine. He called Georgia. Thank you, Keely Sexton. Keely Sexton, thank you. He called Georgia. Does Harvey really only want Scott to be Charlie's friend? So to go back, Harvey writes, thank you for responding. I really only want you to remain his friend. I'm just trying to ask a question about his ownership in the Vietnam property. Wait, did I miss this? Charlie's always been a great friend and I will continue to be there. I understand. Okay, right. Okay, I just missed a couple blocks there. But he wants to sort of cease communication and Harvey wants to get his money. It's always about money with these people. So Harvey writes back, thank you for responding. I really only want you to remain his friend. I really only want you to remain his friend. Is that the most awkward sentence? I am just trying to ask a question about his ownership in the Vietnamese property, excuse me. So I'm asking, does Harvey really only want Scott to be Charlie's friend? Or is this really about money? I mean, and I think it's also guilt, right? Charlie was so good to you. You stayed in his house. He's such a good friend to you, et cetera, et cetera. Or is it about getting money for that property in Vietnam? Yeah. Sophia, good point. I think both of them are about money. Yeah, definitely. They met their match too, these people. Dr. Adelson says, I would appreciate as a friend if you would return his investment in the Vietnamese property. Right now, I need money to pay an appellate lawyer. Please do the right thing and really help Charlie. So he's going to play dumb and pretend to not know that there's no record of Charlie owning this. And he's going to pretend not to know that it's illegal for Americans to own things in Vietnam. All this is coming up. It's going to be an epic showdown. Just wait. Thank you and have a good holiday. Charlie's dad. So a little bit more guilt there. Yeah, it's just your good friend Donna and Charlie's dad. And we're here. We just want the best for you, Scott. Just be a friend to him. Just be a friend to him. Scott, just be a friend. Scott Radius says, hey, Dr. Adelson, all the funds have been sent to make the required payments, as it was stated in the payment plan. Michelle and I are not in a financial position to buy out Charlie's share at this time. Like, go away. This was all illegal. Like, you can't recoup on illegal investments, right? Dr. Adelson says, good morning. Please send documentation of Charlie's ownership. Also, can we arrange... Oh, wait, hold on. I'm sorry. I really didn't. Can we arrange a plan to pay back his investment? Your cooperation would be appreciated. Please consider my request. I'm going to take a quick break. When we get back from the break, we have more of this epic struggle between Harvey Adelson and Scott Radius. Don't go anywhere.
A glass of wine. Roberta will be back in no time. This podcast is listener supported, so smash that like button and subscribe or become a patron for exclusive content if you are so inclined. have something to say, shoot Roberta a super chat. She will do her best to read it on air without delay. Now Roberta's back and ready to put the true back in true crime. Here's Roberta.
Okay, here we go. So last time, so this is another epically long message from, this is an epically long message from Scott Radius. Morning, I think you need to speak with Charlie. He is aware there's no documentation. He actually didn't want anything in his name. I suggested having a legal letter written up, but he said he didn't want that either. Unfortunately, I cannot return his investment because things didn't work out as planned. I.e., got arrested and then convicted. I will still honor his investment and pass the proceeds to him or his son when they come in as we have agreed upon. Moving forward, I feel more comfortable speaking with Charlie next time he calls. Like, I'm going to speak to the guy who has no power at all. He's not going to ask me to return this money. You don't, and also back off, guy. You don't have any claim to Charlie's money. I made the deal with Charlie, not you. That's all the subtext of what's going on here. So then Harvey writes back, I do not believe he can have a private conversation with you about his property, meaning I don't think you can have calls about stuff that isn't fully legal. And also, he also has to know, Scott, that now he's involved himself in the Adelson affair, that they might be watching these text messages, which they were, and they all became evidence, or I don't know how they got handed over. Were these on Donna's phone when she got arrested? I mean, if they share, did they? No, it couldn't have been, because these go beyond after. He must have handed them over. For now, it's best to discuss with me. I have a power of attorney on all matters, meaning I am Charlie now. I am Charlie's representative. So you made the deal with me. You're going to have to deal with me. That's what he's saying here. Hopefully he will get another trial. This is the goal of an appellate lawyer. This is goal of an appellate lawyer. See, there's lots of things. It will take time and money. Can you send any documentation stating what he owns, Harvey Adelson, and then he includes his address? I would appreciate. Have a good day. And Scott Radius writes, Charlie is aware there is no documentation. I don't understand what you want me to say. Hold on one second. What you want me to send. There is nothing in my name either. I will speak with Charlie when he calls. It's not a private matter. It can be discussed. And he's like, look, they've already got him for murder. What are they going to get him for? Illegal property ownership in Vietnam? How is that going to go down? What are the Vietnamese going to find him in prison? I mean, he's already on trial. He's already doing life without parole for murder. What more do you want, Harvey? Dr. Adelson writes back, the location of the property. That's what he wants. Okay, so that's what he's saying. He says, what do you want? He says, the location of the property. There are no ownership docs. How to arrange a visit or stay at property. Just basic info. How is money distributed from rental property? Maybe we can arrange a time to talk. I really am not trying to give you a hard time. Please understand my situation. Again, with the guilt. Again, they're masters. They're masters of the guilt. The guilt and manipulation. And now he's going to have a little softer touch. Understand how hard it is for me. Not trying to give you a hard time, but I just don't believe that there's nothing written down here. Understood. And in fact, Harvey is right. Michelle has the docs. I can share. He's like, oh, thank you. There had to be something when you bought this, and right? Harvey writes back, thank you. And so these are from January 2024, just to give you an idea of the passage of time. This is Harvey writing, please ask Michelle to send a copy of the ownership docs on the Vietnamese property. Thank you. Scott writes back. He deleted that message, whatever he wrote back. Evening, I'm sorry for the late reply. This is Scott writing to Harvey. This is our busiest time of the year. When you are ready to visit the villa, Michelle can assist in making the reservation. For now, I'm not comfortable sending the address as majority of text, emails, and calls are being posted all over the internet. Shout out to Gigi of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I think that's your work, Gigi. I'm sure, and others who, but she was really the first person who got those jailhouse calls, or one of the first. I know Deep Dive True Crime got them too, but she really put up a lot of them. I'm sure you understand we don't want the location being shared with everyone. Regarding the agreement we have with Charlie, nothing has changed. We will still honor his share, and once it's rented out, we'll share the revenue accordingly. As for Charlie's remaining balance of $16K, Michelle and I will cover it. So Harvey got $16K out of him, right? Pretty good. I wish you and your family the best. Like, if I give you $16K, will you just go away? He wasn't willing to give up anything. He's like, Charlie's in jail. Try to get it from me in Vietnam. Sorry. Didn't work out. There's no money here. Can't refund it. Didn't work out as planned. It's not really profitable. These two. It's like no honor among thieves. That's what I kept thinking when I was reading through these messages. All right, moving. I think I overestimated how long it would take me to read that. Okay. Dr. Adelson says, I appreciate the privacy concerns. Why can't you snail mail? He appreciates it, that you're scared of the YouTubers posting up your address, but why don't you just send the docs in the mail? The people interested in my personal life already have my home address, and then he includes his home address. I can appreciate your concerns, and please consider mine. He's like, I wasn't born yesterday, Scott. Sorry. Go try this on someone who was born yesterday. Remember the mail? That's what us old people used to use before the internet. Funny. Dr. Adelson says, when will you be sending documents showing Charlie is a third owner of property in Vietnam? So did we or did we not just hear? Excuse me. Did we or did we not just hear like 5 times that you can't own property in Vietnam? It's illegal. And Charlie didn't want his name on anything because it was illegal. I don't know if he didn't want his name, but it wasn't his name wasn't on anything because it is illegal. I'm not sure it was Charlie's wish, as Scott Radius puts out, or not. I made this very clear. There are no documents showing mine or Charlie's name on the investment in the property. The entire property is under Michelle's name. Foreigners cannot purchase the property in their name in Vietnam. Hold on one second, guys. Thank you. Okay. My boyfriend just came and saved the day. My computer was about to run out of power. He plugged it in. So he's like, I made it very clear. There are no documents showing mine or Charlie's name on the investment in the property. The entire property is in Michelle's name. Foreigners cannot purchase property in their name in Vietnam. Charlie made it very clear he did not want his name on anything. As I stated previously, nothing has changed with our agreement with Charlie. I would appreciate it if you would stop asking for documents that were never intended. They were never intended. Not that it's not legal. They were just never intended, as it's impossible for them to exist. Oh, I think it's possible for them to exist, just not legally. Once the property is complete in the end of March, early April, I will come let you know. And this was, again, so long, I had to continue it into the next thumbnail here. So this was all taking place January 16th, 2024. This epic conversation between Charlie and Scott Radius. And then nudge it along. When you decide to visit, oh, blessed. When you decide to visit Michelle. Wow, I really, something with this timing. When you decide to visit, Michelle will assist you in making the accommodations, as she's the only one who can actually do it, as it's under her name only. Because she's an actual citizen of Vietnam, I would think. Dr. Adelson writes, I was never told that there are no documents in my son's name. I was never given that information by anyone. You were assuming that I knew all of what you were talking about. I now understand after your email. Is there contact information for Michelle that I should have? Good going, Harvey. Yes. Right. Like, let me just, like, let's cut out the middleman here, Scott. Let me just go right to the woman, to your wife or your girlfriend or whoever this is who actually owns this thing. So Scott Radius sends Harvey 2 photos. Was informed twice previously. He's like, I told you twice previously that there are no documents. How many times do I have to tell you there are no documents? Scott Radius says, hey, Dr. Adelson, when you speak to Charlie, can you tell him to try to call before noon his time? The last couple of times he has called, it's been between 3 and 6 a.m. I was sleeping, LOL. I sleep around midnight to 9 a.m. Thanks. So this is a weird thing. Charlie's can't seem to call at the right time. And I always wondered, and this is in April, if this was some kind of revenge. like just needling to wake him up and be like, oh, I didn't recognize the time change. But he does it over and over, where he's calling him Charlie's calling Scott at 2 a.m. Dr. Adelson said Charlie wanted to know which day is better, Sunday or Monday, and he knows the 12-hour difference. How are you doing? Scott Radius writes back, hey, Dr. Adelson, I'm doing okay. It's nice to hear he's able to call. It's been a long time. Bless. Sorry, guys. I don't know what I just did there. Right at the end here. One second. Okay. It's been a long time. I just finished work, going to sleep now. He can call tonight. My Sunday night, his Sunday morning. Look forward to speaking with him. Know to call a couple of times if he doesn't connect on Skype. I will make sure to turn it on. And Harvey writes to Scott, hi, how are things going now? Hope you're doing well. I have nothing to write, so I'm writing. Oh, wait. I think this is just something that was in the thing that just didn't get erased. Charlie has tried calling several times. What number should he call? And he sends a photo of his number. I mean, really paranoia. Thank you. I will tell Charlie to call if he calls again tonight. Like extreme paranoia. Thank you, says Scott Radius here. And had to get a new number. The other one had expired. And he sends a photo. Scott Radius, I saw Charlie called at 2 a.m. but was sleeping. Can you ask him to call between 10 p.m. and 12 a.m. on Sunday, his Sunday morning? Look forward to speaking with him. So no matter how many times he asks not to call at 2 a.m, he calls at 2 a.m. Charlie is on Central Time. Call his Sunday morning between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. I mean, it's like nobody's ever dealt with time change before. Scott Radius, yes, correct. Thank you for passing along. So that's it. That is the entirety of the contact between Scott Radius and Harvey Adelson. It will be evidence in Donna Adelson's trial and will show that they were sincerely, will all go to her fleeing, certainly. And it'll be interesting to see. I believe he's a witness on the witness list for the state, but I don't know if they need him to testify, but maybe we'll see. But it points to the fact that Donna Adelson has, once again, I've said it before, I'll say it again, made some of the best evidence against herself by fleeing. So this shows consciousness of guilt. An innocent person wouldn't flee. Now, of course, Daniel Rashbaum and Alec Morris are going to argue that she watched her son get wrongfully convicted. And of course, she was going to flee. And it wasn't illegal to flee at the time. She wasn't breaking the law, et cetera, et cetera. She did it out in the open. But how else do you get a visa? What are we supposed to say? She was like with Harvey, almost 80, going to go on a Tonka truck, like some kind of barge to Cuba or I don't know. How did they think she was going to exist as a fugitive abroad? Maybe that would have been better. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I'm going to take a quick break. When we get back from the break, I'm going to end with a victim impact letter. Be back in a minute. Don't go anywhere.
We don't take it. glass of wine. Roberta will be back in no time. This podcast is listener supported, so smash that like button and subscribe or become a patron for exclusive content if you are so inclined. Have something to say? Shoot Roberta a super chat. She will do her best to read it on air without delay. Now Roberta's back and ready to put the true back in true crime. Here's Roberta.
Well, we have a record number of people watching live. I think for this show, we have 1,500 people watching live. So record for me across all platforms. Welcome. Tammy, thanks for the super sticker. Appreciate it. All right. So I'm going to end the way I usually end my shows, with a victim impact letter. This is from Shelley Markell, Dan Markell's sister. And this was written in Catherine McManama's retrial. I am Shelley Markell. Danny Markell, the victim in this case, was my brother, my only sibling. I was Danny's older sister, and I played that role with pride. When we were young, I showed Danny how to tie his shoelaces. I taught him how to blow his nose. I also gave him advice on how he, as a cute little 9-year-old, should manage his love life, which constituted trying to win the affection of our various teenage babysitters. As we grew older and Danny became more accomplished, I rarely gave him advice about major professional decisions like which college he should choose, which law journal he should submit his article to, or which job would serve him best in his career. He had a wonderful community of mentors and advisors, as well as an enormous network of friends and colleagues from every corner of his life with whom he could share and test his ideas. Instead, with me, he spent hours on the phone, focused on family and relationships. How could he express his love to a girlfriend? How could he manage an argument he was having with our parents? What technique did I use when dealing with our kids' terrible twos? And how could he deal with the devastation resulting from his divorce? I listened patiently. I gave advice. We shared our experiences. And in every conversation, we strengthened our relationship. We had an everlasting bond, shared values, customs, and histories that started in childhood and continued into our adult lives. These are the things that connected us as brother and sister. These are the things I am left without. I no longer have Danny around to share with him the accomplishments of each of our children and the happiness and feelings of pride they bring, not to give updates about our cousins living in distant parts of the world, nor to share the burden and responsibility of our aging parents. I bear that alone. I am sad. I am lonely. I am angry that Danny was taken from me. He will not be there when we have the next family celebration, or joint family trip to Disney World, or when we gather around the table for a holiday meal with our parents, cousins, aunts, and uncles, as we do every year. And he will not be there with me to decide on medical treatments or care for our parents, nor sit with me in grief one day. Instead, the order of our world has been cruelly reversed, and me and my parents, our children, and our friends sit in grief over Danny's death. Danny and I also shared other very basic elements, our genes. As we were growing up, people would look at us and ask who we looked like. I had brown hair and brown eyes like my father. Danny, on the other hand, when he was a child, had this rich blonde hair and bright blue eyes, just like my mother. And yet, when my family, friends, and relatives would look at us, they would insist that we look alike, easily recognizable as brother and sister. Perhaps it was the nose or the profile or the shape of the forehead. I couldn't really specify, but the genes were there and the connection was unmistakable. Danny was stridently confident in his abilities and opinions, but he also had this little twinkle of mischief in those blue eyes, something accomplished by this embarrassed little smile, and acknowledged he was about to say something that might get him into some minor trouble. What is so crazy about this image is that it often appears in my everyday life. My son, now 18 years old, is dark in complexion with deep brown eyes and no blonde or blue-eyed genes in sight. But he has that marvelous twinkle in his eye and that same little smile, and above all, this overriding confidence that is so strikingly similar to Danny. It is shocking. My husband and I have recently been caught by surprise at that unexpected connection. When my son came home recently and said something like, "Don't worry, Mom. I know it looks like I haven't studied much, but I am ready for that test. I'm good." And then he smiled that little smile, acknowledging that he could get a scolding. But the confidence was there, and I could swear that was Danny speaking to me in that moment. When I think of Danny's younger son and the last time I saw him in person, over 6 years ago, he was 5 years old, and he was the spitting image of Danny at that age. The likeness was uncanny, and the energy and spirit were also so similar. It makes me wonder, how will Danny's two sons grow up? Will they have the same mischievousness and the overbrimming confidence as Danny and my son? Are those inherited traits? Are they going to show up in Danny's boys? Are his sons going to have missed out because their father is not here to instill such characteristics in them? And if they do show up, who is going to tell those boys that it came from their father? They won't have known their dad and his confidence, his respect for intelligence and scholarship, his deep connection to friends, his love of family, his love of life. They will have missed out on having their father be an integral part of their lives, and they will never benefit from all the things he could have taught and shared with them. We are all going to miss out because this special person is no longer in our lives. This July is the 8th anniversary of Dan's murder, 8 years that he has not been with us. In those 8 years, we continue to suffer. We continue to grieve. I think about Danny every single day. His murder has been horrible for me and my family. Shocking, surreal, hard to understand, and above all, it makes me so angry. I wish I only thought about his smile and his grand hugs, but instead I think about how he's not going to be there with us for the future. His future was cut short. He was only 41 years old. Imagine what was ahead of him, guiding his two sons as they grow up, teaching them as they cross the threshold into adulthood at their bar mitzvahs, watching them graduate and go on to prom, helping them choose colleges or the many family birthdays and celebrations he'll miss. Hold on one second. Like my mom's upcoming birthday and my dad's ski trip he still plans to take with the grandchildren. Or what about the career and scholarly achievements he had ahead of him? Maybe another book or another generation of keen law students to teach, a community leader in his home of Tallahassee. Maybe he could have become a dean at the FSU Law School, or perhaps a judge in a court like this one. But he's not going to have any of those opportunities. Those were taken from him by those who planned and carried out his murder. A murder. It was not a disease or a freak accident that took Danny from us. It was murder. Justice means assuring that those responsible for the crime are convicted and receive the strongest possible sentence. Our system of justice, our values of right and wrong, even Dan's own writing about restitution demand that the world be placed into proper order. And that Judge Wheeler is what I respectfully request in this case. Thank you, Shelley Markel. Okay, before I go, thanks. That's what I have for today. A couple super chats. Thanks for the Schadenfreude. It was delicious, says Shiraz. Thank you. Isn't it interesting? I found that exchange particularly interesting. And I've spent a lot of time with it. It took a lot of time to make that exhibit for you guys. And I found it really, really fascinating. Pat Brooks says, thank you, Roberta. You are so appreciated for all your hard work. Love your awesome channel, awesome mods, and awesome community. Yeah, thank you, mods. Thank you, Tommy, Murder by Maestro, and the Society page. I appreciate it. I will be back. Tomorrow's my day off, but I will be back Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share this episode, and I'll see you Tuesday. Have a great night, everybody.
What a stitch you're in. You plotted a murder 'cause you wanted to raise your daughter's kid. Tallahassee is just a stop on the way to civilization. Miami is where all the fancy people are at. The TV is a Power 5. You can't get away from that. Two-toe, tay-toe, hoo-ho, you know the guy you pay, and you can't get away from that. Oh, Donna, what a stitch you're in. You thought jail was just for the little people, but now you're so blankets with the locked-up crew. You're a grandmother in lockdown, and your one-way ride to freedom you blew. What a stitch you're in. Your family are exiled from the social circles you swam in. We all know you never made that banana bread or offered to babysit for Dan, but you'll soon be making license plates and thinking about what could have been.